This episode is brought to you by Zarzar Law. I'm investigative journalist Molly Barrows. For years, I've covered the stories that made headlines in Northwest Florida and all along the Gulf Coast. Murders, missing persons, and mysteries of all kinds. These cases are far from over for many victims because the full story has yet to surface. Join me for Gulf Coast Confidential, where I dive into the saltier side of the South and expose the lies, greed, and corruption that often weighs down the truth. It's time to turn the tide and get a shot at justice. Hey, y'all, and welcome to the Gulf Coast Confidential podcast. I'm Molly.
Hey, I'm Pam.
And if you haven't already, we would love it if you would please like and subscribe. You know what to do. And we'd love to hear from you as well. Please leave a comment or a suggestion about a case. We don't have the market on what the Feezy cases that are often breaking, brewing, or bubbling up right here in beautiful Northwest Florida and all along the Gulf Coast. They happen everywhere.
Everywhere. There are quite a few that are right here, readily available, though.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And especially not too terribly far from here in the Gulf Coast. We've been following a story out of Tuscumbia, Alabama. That's north of Birmingham, not too terribly far from where we are here on the Gulf Coast of Florida. But today's episode is called August Borden. This is episode number 4, Overpriced, Thorn in the Side of Football in Tuscumbia. What are we talking about? Well, there's a lot to update you on what's been going on with August Borden. If you haven't followed our story, you can catch up on our playlist by the same name, August Borden. And this is about a young man, 15 years old, a football player for Deshler High School in Tuscumbia, Alabama. And many people are saying, including his parents, that he was just simply beat down. And if you see his face and his injuries, y'all, he had to be life flighted to a hospital in Birmingham. They had to perform CPR. They couldn't find a pulse for him before they took him to the hospital. Performed CPR, brought him back. The doctors there at UAB intubated him. He was in a coma for 2 days. They weren't sure if he was going to even make it. He had serious traumatic brain injuries. He had fractures to his orbital bones. He had fractures to his skull. And the doctors were saying this was nothing short of an assault. And the coaches, the administrators at the school, and then it was shifted off to an investigation to Madison County, even further north in Alabama. And they have all said, well, now there's nothing to see here, y'all. This was just an accident. In fact, it was a freak accident. And another student bear hugged him. He made a noise. He passed out. He dropped him. And then just this freak accident, his foot twisted. He launched off some steps. He catapulted, and it caused all of this traumatic injury. Well, many people in the community, including his parents, they're simply not buying it. And the last time we did an episode here for Gulf Coast Confidential, we talked about the fact that Madison County was going to be looking into it. And I think we were all hopeful that, hey, here's this outside agency. They're going to take a look at this, because the kid who's accused of bear hugging him and dropping him, quote unquote, by accident, is the quarterback, a young man named Price Thornton, recently turned 18 years old. And it's not just him, but apparently some other teammates are accused of essentially holding August down, potentially in the weight room, because this happened after football practice back in August. His mama drops him off early in the morning. They spent all day there. She's just about to leave the house to go pick him up. The next thing she knows, she gets a call from another player's mom saying he's about to be life flighted to UAB in Birmingham. And so there's just been a lot of talk in the community, and we were really hoping for some answers from Madison County, but instead, many people feel like they just got more of the same BS.
Definitely. Well, it is a story that just keeps morphing into the most ridiculous, from the most simplest explanation that is not correct, falling down the stairs, but he's at the top of them when they find him. And even if that was how it happened, which it wasn't, is that how it happened, that is some trauma injury.
Well, and a normal, let's say, for instance, that this was a freak accident, that really was just something unintentional that happened. A normal reaction would be, oh my gosh, what can we do to support this kid? Let's go visit him in the hospital. Let's make videos. Let's make cards. But instead, you just get silence. And instead, there's this pushback from the community. We showed a picture of a young woman, a high school student there, and her mom basically says, hashtag stay mad, Price is right. And it is this us against them mentality. This whole town has basically been turned inside out because there's a line that's been drawn that said you either believe and toe the line of the story that it was a freak accident, or if you continue to criticize and say, hey, you're not getting all the answers, that we've given you inconsistencies, which they have given inconsistent responses to what's been happening, then you're the one that's the problem. You need to be ostracized. And Pam and I have said from the beginning that it seems like there is just so much more that's going on beneath the surface of the story. This is not just about everybody being behind the football team. It seems to me this has got to be about money.
Oh, yeah. Well, you think about things, it's even like a mama bear. If you get between a mama bear and her cub, because that's the most important thing to her, she's going to attack you or whatever. And I'm saying that whatever happened, however this happened, why it happened, put whatever's on the other side of that where we can see it now.
Exactly. And Pam and I are going to dive into that in just a second, but we do want to bring you up to speed on some things. So that is the latest since the last time we've talked to you. Madison County found that there was no evidence of any criminal wrongdoing. That young man, Price Thornton, and another player named Aiden had posted a picture on Snapchat of the two of them that basically said hashtag beat the case. And they're just, throwing little peace signs or whatever. And, it comes across very cocky. That outraged the community. And then Aiden followed up with an apology post. I imagine his mama or his grandmama got in his ear and was like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because there's just so much that's very layered about this story. But this young man, Price Thornton, his dad is well known in the community, is what would be considered an influential figure, according to many folks in this very small town. He's an insurance adjuster. And so he's been helpful and supportive of the football program there. And if you take a look at Tuscumbia and Deshler High School, it's a quaint town. It's got a lot of history there. Bear Bryant was even an assistant coach there back in the 1930s. But they've also had their share of tragedy as well. And this program seems to be the heartbeat of this community to a certain extent. It's where the parents rally around and cheer for their kids. It's a lot of money that's invested. If you look at this field and just the quality of it and the equipment, it's clear that this is a very important part of the community. And as we dive in and dig in, it seems like it's important on more than a few reasons.
No doubt. The field and the track and the athletic part there is definitely the crown jewel of their town. And it's just so spiffy and bright and everything. I can see they should be proud of it. But the thing is there, too, is that, with the story being told, I gave him a bear hug. You say bear hug, I say choke hold, whatever type of thing, or I say sleeper hold or what have you. It's these people are getting upset because people have the audacity to ask a question going, that does not seem right. That does not seem correct. And where I'm from, that ain't right.
Right.
We want to talk about this here.
Yeah, and people want answers, and local businesses in the community have gathered their resources and have collected more than $11,000 offering a reward for information, specifically video or pictures that show exactly what happened to August Borden after he suffered these terrible injuries after football practice. So I think that's fantastic. And you want to tell us a little bit about the company that's offering that reward?
Yeah, well, there are several companies and businesses in Tuscumbia and Layton. R&D Towing and Recovery are the ones that are spearheading this and getting it together. And Dusty, the man that is in charge of that, or the man that owns it, he's like, you can remain anonymous. Nobody will know. And if it's been a tape that's been erased, we can have it, I think he said extracted is the word. Just bring it to him. Because here's the bottom line. We're not going to walk around here and act like, if you've seen August's face, you've seen what's happening to him, he's missing his whole freshman year. He has a TBI, a traumatic brain injury, like a soldier in another country, or like a football player that got their bell rung with a full-on clothesline tackle or something. Anyway, or falling out of a tree or a car wreck or whatever. TBI, think about it, traumatic brain injury. Our brain doesn't say, I'm going to make new cells now. Our brain has neuroplasticity where it says, I have to learn to do it this way now.
Exactly. And I think that's why he's so tired all the time.
Tired. And then like we said at the beginning, he had to ask his mom, where do we keep the plates? Simple things like that. So that tells you something, and it's a challenge. And then, you know, I'm a feelings and emotional girl. I'm all about the feelings and stuff. And I'm like, you get up and you look out at your town and you're like, you're 15 years old and that all happened to you. You almost damn near died. And you're like, wait a minute. But the good part of that is other teams are basically stepping up and saying, even there's a school over in Texas, all their purple shirt wearing football players were like, yo, August, you know, stay tough, man, and tough times make tough people, and that. There's a bunch of that coming, so we want to concentrate on that. But about the reward and the town coming together, there is no choice except for us to figure this out, unless we want to stand here and watch a whole town and everything that's lovely in it and everything that's not lovely in it implode.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Well, in August's dad, Jason Borden, released a statement after the Madison County District Attorney's Office said that there would be no criminal charges filed and that any other account is just rumor or hearsay. But I'll just read you a small portion of what he said. Quote, like everyone else hearing this announcement who have followed this case over the past 7 weeks, I'm shocked and appalled at the decision made by District Attorney Tim Gann. And actually, Tim Gann is I think the deputy district attorney. But we know this case has been riddled with lies and corruption since its inception. The one thing that did come from Madison's poor investigation is that we now know without any uncertainty that at least one other student was involved in the attack that left my son without a pulse and med-flighted to UAB hospital, where he spent the next 3 days in ICU. This alone proves that the school lied to the Tuscumbia Police Department, they lied to the media, and they lied to the paramedics on day one when they said August did this on his own. End quote. So the fact that they would even expect these parents to believe that, and the story has changed over and over again. And, you know, we've got pictures of some of the injuries. He's got scratches on the backs of his hands, almost as if he were trying to put his hands up to defend himself. He's got scrapes on the tops of his knees, you know, abrasions. It looked as though he might have even been dragged. So there are some people who believe that this alleged beatdown did happen in the weight room because August was allegedly, even according to the investigators, they said that there was just some banter and some teasing, and in good-hearted horseplay, this other player grabs him in a bear hug. And like Pam said, let's just take it from, let's use a different choice of words. Let's say August was quote unquote pestering this kid because he was dating a 13-year-old girl, according to some people in the community. And this kid had enough of August teasing him about it. And according to some people who say that they've heard from other kids, that another player held August down so that this other player, Price Thornton, could beat him up. Of course, investigators have said that none of this is true, that this did not happen. But, you know, this was not. And then if they did happen in the weight room, some people believe like they basically hauled him out and drug him to the top of the stairs and then came up with the story that he fell and catapulted himself.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, and the top of his knees, it's not on the kneecaps. It's right there where your thigh goes to your knee there. So that is odd. And it looks like abrasions, like a weepy wound with an infection in it. Not yet, but that's where it would be. And then we've got them saying, well, it was this way or that way. They said that there were all these kids that saw it. And then there was the little scuttlebutt about, well, they had them sign NDAs. Well, that wasn't what that was. They had them sign statements and told them they don't want them talking about it. You know, also the thing that I'm thinking about too is if they have zero tolerance. We talked on here a couple of weeks ago about the young man that had to sit in his chair like this and get choked, and when he decides to push this boy off him, he gets 15 days in school suspension. And he's got parents that got sense and stuff and said, you're not going to do that to my kid. Yes, we did. But so whoever did this to August, they are getting rewarded. They still get to go play, do this, that, and the other. Nobody's against the team. I want people to get that straight. We want whomever can have some sort of normalcy to still have normalcy. But something would have to be wrong with you if you say, well, we have a ball game and I'm going to get out here and act like that never happened. That is some special kind of dysfunction in my brain.
Right, and then to be angry at the family for wanting answers. I mean, they nearly lost their child.
Oh, yeah. That Stay Mad bunch still gets me crazy because they got a hashtag called Stay Mad. And if you want to stay mad or if you want to get mad at them staying mad, you can go look at it. Because I started looking on there and I saw a lady said, she was a lady, she's probably 40 or something. She said, I went to Deshler. I was bullied every day of my life here because, and this is just her talking, and I'm not going to say any more than that. But the thing is, it is quite obvious there is favoritism. It is quite obvious that they follow the rules for some people and don't for others.
Right, because they've already admitted that this one player, this subject of interest, put his hands on this kid. Even if they want to label it an accident, he put his hands on him and caused this. And yet they're picking and choosing how they want to enforce that.
Right. He came right up to the head coach. He said, Coach, he's pestering me, and I did this, that, and the other. And they thought that, the funny thing is, they thought that that was going to fly. But it does sometimes, because I'm 15 years later still all up in the PHS mess over there, and I'm not going to let that go till I'm dead. I promise that. Because this is what happens, these kind of things. And I think that by people telling children to be quiet, and they're the ones that saw it, but you're interviewing adults. What's wrong with these folks?
Well, and picking and choosing the information that you want to use. I want to point out, too, something else that August's dad had said. He talked about his son's injuries and just the types of information. Like you mentioned, that they interviewed all these adults and supposedly interviewed some of the kids as well, but they're picking and choosing what information they wanted to include in this investigation. And August's dad pointed out that in their final investigation, they basically said that August checked some box where it said that he had been dizzy or something like that. So basically, they're trying to imply that August had some kind of other medical issues that might have led to this. He had no other medical issues that led to skull fractures, orbital fractures, every indication of a beatdown. So basically, he says, quote, August has never been diagnosed with any medical issues related to these two check boxes on a form that holds no medical merit. But when I asked Gann about speaking to August's actual doctor, who has been working with August for the past 7 weeks on his recovery, the same doctor who on record stated that these injuries were too severe to be caused by a single person falling down and actually in line with physical assault, Gann told me he didn't speak to the doctor and downplayed the findings and opinions of this doctor in favor of his own wild narrative that my son was playfully hugged from behind, fell asleep while standing, fell down and hit his head, and would have died had he not received CPR. End quote. So that's just, to me, yet another example of how they're picking and choosing the facts that they want to use. And they never missed a game. They never missed a beat. There was no, let's take a moment of silence for August. It was other teams coming to play. This young man, his favorite color is yellow. Another team early on wore yellow ribbons, they said, for August. In response, y'all, Deshler High School did the little bitty yellow stickers just on the back. I mean, if you blink, you're going to miss it. That is not normal. If what they're saying really is true, then why did it take nearly 2 months to even come out with this version of events?
Well, and why is it August's fault? I mean, can't you see that's horrible that happened to him? When you can look all over the planet Earth, you can be inner planet Janet and look and see that this is not right. I mean, there are people that, write on our Facebook and stuff, they're like, tell us how we can help. This, that, and the other. And, just keep looking at the post and redoing those. We got a hashtag Justice for August, and use the hashtags when you do that. I wore yellow because he likes yellow.
Yes.
And we're going to paint our cars up and stuff like Justice for August and let people know about it, because there's other things they're going to do too. I think they're going to have like a walk or a meetup around Halloween. We'll be a little more specific about that when we learn a little more about that. But my thing in with this is that let's approach this positive. He's not the currency for all this chaos and misdirected hostility at his family and him. I've experienced that before with the fallout after my sister's murder, and I have to tell you that I wept so hard and felt like a trembling baby because I was already at my worst, the very worst I've ever been in my life and prayfully will ever be, and have people attacking me because I dare have some feelings or ask for help about my sister or dare push back on the system, and that's what I told you that immediately. I saw that and I was like, nope, that's what's happening. And his family's probably sitting there going, this is like a weird world experience.
Right, because his mom grew up in that town. She went to Deshler High School, was a cheerleader there. I mean, it's a very wholesome, great place to be in so many ways, but this has really shown the underbelly and split this town in ways that is almost inexplicable unless you start digging in and finally realizing that maybe there's more to this than just people being enthusiastic about the football team for the for the fun of the sport alone, that there may be a whole other reason why they're enthusiastic about this game. But I do want to mention, too, that Tuscumbia City Schools is continuing their investigation. Now, some folks feel they're just doing that because they know a civil suit could potentially be filed over this, which I think is reasonable to expect. But at any rate, they are continuing their investigation. We'll see what they come out with. And what's interesting to me also is that Tuscumbia Police Department, before it was moved to Madison County, they were already saying that this young man that was involved, this subject of interest, was going to be charged in juvenile court with some sort of, third-degree assault charges. So now Madison County came and said, no, we're not even going to worry about that. We're just going to put this behind us. And then you got the picture, beat the case coming out, and then, the kid with the follow-up. So again, not normal if it really was just a simple freak accident and an unintentional assault. And also, there were tremendous medical bills that the family racked up over all this. So if you're interested in helping them at all, you can go to justiceforaugust.com and make a donation. And you can also learn about the case. And then, Pam and I mentioned, because she's been through this with her own sister, if you're interested in learning more about Pam's personal experience, you can check out our playlist, Mommy Killer. And there's a whole slew of episodes in there where we really dive into it. But in a nutshell, Pam's nephew, Brandon, ate a lot. He was found not guilty by reason of insanity, but back in 2013, on Christmas Eve, he brutally attacked and assaulted his mother in the doorway of her home. This is Sharon ate a lot, Pam's sister. Sharon was fresh off a divorce from Brandon's father, who was a coach at Pensacola High School and had coached at various schools around the area. And he had lost his job and divorced his wife because of the reason he lost his job. And that was because he had been caught sexting with a 14-year-old girl in his science class. And he had tried to blame the text on his son. There had been essentially a cover-up at that school involving administrators, involving other coaches, involving another police department officer at the time who investigated child sex crimes. But her son also played for the football team. So Pam is very familiar with this misdirected hostility, if you will, because sometimes in her experience and in our opinion from covering a lot of stories like this, the institutions, when they don't want the truth out, it's easier to make you the bad guy. It's easier to come after you and rally the troops who want to get behind you, because what could possibly be more important than football and coaches? It's like they think that there's some sort of Greek gods or something.
Well, it was amazing because my sister would not co-sign on that behavior of her ex-husband. He was her husband at the time. And basically all the testosterone in the room turned on her, even the principal and even the school system. Even the investigator told her, stop talking about it. You're making it worse. And then they would isolate her when they would talk to her. And then they would lie. I've caught them lying. That's why I'm never going to give this up. The documentary we're making is going to start with that bunch right there.
Absolutely. Well, so Pam and I have been doing some digging into this and talking to a lot of people in town, because this has really hurt so many folks. You still have children that are attending that school. You still have parents that want answers. You have people that are sort of caught in the middle. They feel like something bad has happened, something wrong has happened, but they don't know how to necessarily support this young man and his family, except to just say, we don't agree with what's happened. We don't agree with how this has been handled. That's why Pam and I have been talking about doing the hashtag on your car with Justice for August on the windshield, or the back windshield, I should say.
When you put your Halloween outfit on, just do a sign or something, Justice for August. And if y'all put enough of them out there, I'll gather them up and make some reels of them, and we'll put some fun music behind it and stuff. Because this little guy, give him all the love he can get. If folks won't give it to him, dadgummit, we will.
I know, because he doesn't remember what happened. He's still recovering. He's not back in school yet. This has completely upended his life. He'll never play football again, most likely. I mean, we just want him to we want to see him make a full recovery and see his family have some peace. And we also want answers, because I think other parents are concerned. Let's just say for a second that it wasn't a freak accident, that these kids, some of these people, and including his parents, are right, that there was an alleged beat down in the weight room and there was a cover up. Why? Why would they care this much? Why would they want to cover this up so badly that they're willing to not only, cover up the truth about an alleged crime that could have happened by assaulting this young man, but they're also asking all of these other kids to basically carry this same false water, to carry this story. And so that, to me, is heinous and upsetting alone because it's going to traumatize these kids that probably do want to come forward and tell the truth.
Oh, I can imagine there's probably several of them. They're trying to go to bed at night and their conscience, because kids are not like that. Kids want to tell the truth. Kids want to understand things. And I think most people do. I'm going to venture to say there's a handful of the Stay Mad crew. There's a handful of them, and they're loud. Okay, so what? If I had to venture to guess, I'd say most of Tuscumbia is good.
Absolutely.
Most of Deshler is good. But we got this bunch trying to gaslight us. We got a doctor, dentist, whomever he is, wants to come gaslight us. And then we got his little buddy, the judge. And then we got some other loudmouth people that'll just cut you out and ask you where you live so they can come get you. All that kind of fracanackle BS. So we got all that going on. And they're trying to make us think it's over one little boy with a little bit of acne, sweaty boy, that he's so great that all of Tuscumbia needs to fall flat.
I know, but we have our own theory about what potentially could be motivating that. But before we get into it, we just want to take a moment to thank our advertiser, Joe Zarzar of Zarzar Law. He's a personal injury attorney here in Pensacola, but he represents cases throughout the Southeast. If you've been injured through no fault of your own, if someone you love has been injured through no fault of their own, maybe it was a medical malpractice case, maybe it was a wrongful death, maybe there was an accident. We do a lot of stories with Joe Zarzar because he represents people who need the help. They need somebody to speak up for them, to be a voice for the voiceless when they're not able to tell their own story about what happened or fight the big guys. These insurance companies, sometimes people need to collect from them and they are difficult about that. Or maybe they're just having a hard time finding answers like August family are. And there's another person that was injured through no fault of his own. So we want to find out what happened there. But this is where a good attorney can come in and dig for those answers and help you get the justice that you need. And so we just want to thank Zarzar Law for their support of this show. They're actually representing the family of a young woman, 20 years old, who was hit and killed by an Tuscumbia sheriff's officer in an accident that is still under investigation by the Florida Highway Patrol. If y'all are familiar with the Gulf Coast, we've got a popular place called the Floribama, and a group of kids, including this young woman, had come down, young people, I should say, had come down from the Birmingham area last 4th of July, been having a good time. They were staying out at a house on River Road. They were walking back across Perdido Key Drive, which is that main drag there along the Gulf, and they were walking across, and there were 4 of them, 2 of the friends made it across the road, and 2 of them that were coming up right behind them, they were hit by this off-duty deputy. And according to the 2 that survived, they never saw any lights. They didn't know he was there. They had no idea until they felt this car whoosh behind them. And then this young woman was knocked some 70 feet. Her body was found on the side of the road. And the young man, who I interviewed, his dad, his body was apparently carried by the car and also knocked total about 160 feet. So that is still under investigation. This officer is no longer on the job. But again, you send your young people out into the world, your children, you think that, they're going to have a good time just going out to enjoy themselves. And then through no fault of their own, they're doing what they were supposed to do. They were in the crosswalk and they walked across and they were hit and killed. So Joe Zarzar is representing one of the victims in there. And we just want to thank them for their support of this show. And again, if you ever, so God forbid anything horrible ever happened to you, you need somebody to represent you, we suggest you give Joe Zarzar a call or talk to someone that can help guide you to the best place you need to go for answers.
Exactly. Well, I think we see that right now in an undesignated way, because people are going, they're like, oh, nothing to see here. The investigation's over. .com, whatever, it's over. So, but we're like, no, not so fast. People with good sense or stuff are going, no, it's not over until we have answers. Isn't that amazing? We just want answers. It ain't like we're asking for millions and millions of dollars, but they're going to keep on. I mean, August's future is priceless, okay?
Yes,
his future is priceless. I mean, we put things in a category where you can't assign money to it. The things we consider priceless, our family, our children, our relationship with God. There are plenty of things that don't have anything to do with money. So I think it's weird to me that the price is right or it's about the money or the gate and stuff. Still, look over there. Do you still see that young man that his face is broken?
I know. Well, and what Pam's talking about, and those who are into Tuscumbia will already be familiar with this, but for those who are following the story from outside of the area, recently after a touchdown was made by Deshler High School, one of the first touchdowns that was made in the game, from the press box, basically they played the theme song from The Price is Right. You remember that game show where you would guess and try to come close to the price of a product, but they would play The Price is Right. And of course, we thought that was some kind of a play on words because the quarterback's last name was Price, and it just became this rallying cry of sorts. But we had some folks that reach out to us and remind us that there was another tragedy that centered around gambling that happened in Tuscumbia, Alabama. And there's actually been a documentary made about this case. There's a whole series called Murder Under the Friday Night Lights, and this particular episode was in season 2. Episode 7, it was called A Killer's Bet. And it aired back in 2023. But essentially what happened was a coach, Breoni Rutland, his nickname was Bree, was beloved at Deshler High School, very popular, sweet young man by all accounts, according to family and friends. Well, on November 26th of 2013, he vanished. Police had no idea what had happened to him. His family didn't know what had happened to him. And then it turned out that he was running a secret football betting ring among his friends, and a chain of clues essentially led the police to a gambler who was trying to get out of paying his debt. And that guy was Jeremy Williams, and he ended up being arrested and convicted in Coach Rutland's murder in November of 2015. So Williams was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. And it was one of those situations where some people think that the gambling never stopped, that there's betting that happens on these games, and that perhaps it's all that money that was at stake that was more important than taking a moment and taking a pause. And even though if there was something that happened, if there was an assault, if this kid did do something to August Borden that he should not have done, the reason that these people didn't step up and do the right thing because they didn't want it to slow down the football train and potentially any repercussions if there was betting going on.
Yeah, or any connections of some sort. And the thing too is that if we're going to play, and that was horrible what happened to Breon.
Bless his heart and his family too. And we're not trying to drag them and make them a part of this terrible situation that's happened with August, but it's an example of there have been terrible things that have happened in the past. This was the motivation there. It was centered around the football games there in Deshler or Deshler High School in Tuscumbia. So there are folks there in town who say, well, if the gambling never stopped, could that be a reason why they didn't want to stop this?
Well,
time?
people are asking a lot of questions, and they just don't want to hear questions. It's like what they told my sister: stop asking stuff. You're making it worse. And then it's like I said, if I'm here and there's a baby bear there, the mama's not going to let me get there. You know, they protect what's important. And so I also think that if we're going to play like The Price is Right after a certain victory or something, if it was an accident, how garden variety tacky is that to go, now here's your accident. We're going to play and dance on top of your hospital bed. You know, I mean, that is some tacky stuff. So these things don't make sense. If it seems wrong, it is.
Right. Well, and then you also had the doubling down from the team doctor who was basically showing x-rays of somebody else entirely and implying that he went up to visit August in the hospital, which he did not do. He never saw him, but trying to downplay what happened to him. And then there was another judge in town that downplayed what happened to him. So, you know, it does make you wonder why all this pushback, why the doubling and tripling down when this young man, 15 years old, should be enjoying his freshman year. He should be looking forward to homecoming instead of just coming home in one piece.
Right. And nobody, there should absolutely be not a single solitary soul holding contempt for him. I mean, why would anybody say, and then when I'll tell you when I lost that, when those teachers are like, I need my, what is it called, algorithm to change on my Facebook. I'm tired of seeing this. I pretty much imagine that August is going to be tired of living it.
Absolutely, the heartlessness.
Yeah,
of
that was, and that was very. And I really wish those teachers, you know, it's never too late to do the right thing. I wish those particular teachers and those particular people that are saying wrong, hateful, mean stuff would say. I mean, people are saying maybe Adrian didn't mean it when he said he's sorry. Whether he did or didn't, he did it.
He did say he was sorry.
Right. It ain't up to me to get in the middle of that judgment between him and the big quarterback up there, you know. But the thing is, how wonderful would it be if people could say, you know what, that wasn't my very best thinking. That was not being a good lady or good man right then. And how in the world I'm going to do better.
Absolutely.
That's what I think should happen.
Yeah, of course. And just rally around this young man and wish him well. Hope that he makes a full recovery and is back on his feet. So anyhow, there is still a reward out there for information. If you have or know of anyone that has any video or pictures that can show what happened to August Borden, it's over $11,000 now. You can reach out to the towing company.
R&D.
R&D Towing there and just outside of Tuscumbia. And at any rate, people want answers. They do want to support this family. And there is genuine fear because of these folks that are pushing back so hard.
Yeah.
And again, whatever the reason is why there is such pushback and circling the wagons and huddling up to protect and keep this secret, the truth will come out. People do know, people do see, and this is all temporary. Are you going to pick the steam back up once football season is over? Is it magically Tuscumbia City Schools investigation going to be over by then? And they're going to come to whatever conclusion they're going to come to. You know, people see you. You're not as hidden as you think you are.
Yeah, hiding in plain sight. And I still got two other little guys, two other players there on my mind. The friend that wore August jersey, you know, he kind of was the most mature of all of us there. And then our folks up there in Tuscumbia whose son was getting choked. And so he got punishment. So I'm just saying, everything we need, look, we can't just keep doing this like this. I'm follow rules we won't do today. I'm in charge. Just like that Russ Tate said, you ain't telling me how to do my job. We know. We know. Somebody needs to tell you. But this is fraganacle. I mean, let's just stop. Damn.
It is fraganacle.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. But if you would like to help, you can visit justicefораugust.com. Pam and I are going to continue to follow this. You know, again, this has divided the community. Some business owners have felt like that they've been ostracized and isolated. There's a What's Happening to Tuscumbia page, and the administrator of that page even posted how people have come after her because that page inadvertently became a place where both sides were posting about it, and people were coming after her for just, you know, agreeing with them. And another parent, it's a business owner in town, ended up her sons didn't want to play on the football team anymore. So this has just caused a lot of division. But, you know, in some respects, it's just a good old fashioned case of good versus bad. Are you on the side of right, or are you on the side of keeping secrets?
Right. Well, and we got the Shoals Outsider too. They post and they are giving their proceeds from their Facebook revenue to #JusticeForAugust.
That's wonderful. Yeah. They need all the support that they can get. And if you have any information, please reach out to R&D Towing. You can also reach out to, you know, the justicefораugust.com. You can reach out to Pam and I if you want to message us on Facebook. And I'm sure there's any number of folks that are there right there in the community that you know that we don't, that are for this and are trying to get to the bottom of it as well. We just want to help the family know that people do love them and they do support them and they're rooting for them. And it's great to see there was a motorcycle ride for him as well.
Yeah,
that was cool.
Yeah. Well, August, Molly, me, and James, we are Team August.
Absolutely. We certainly wish you the best and hope for a full recovery. Well, any other thoughts that we want to wrap up?
I think we all can just do better. Let's get this behind us and let's get going.
And let's do what's right. Yeah. Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Pam, and thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate you, our listeners, and those watching on the Gulf Coast Confidential YouTube channel. That is it for August Borden, Overpriced, Thorn in the Side of Football in Tuscumbia. I'm your host, writer, and producer, Molly Barrows, with co-host and researcher, Pam Hill. And a big thanks, as always, to our director, editor, and production engineer, James Roy. Remember, you can check out more episodes wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts and right there on the Gulf Coast Confidential YouTube channel. Just don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. This episode is brought to you by Zarzar Law.